And now, marine weather around Alaska. Let's take a look now at your marine weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan with the National Weather Service on this Wednesday, August 2nd. Starting with the sea ice, there still is some ice out there in the far north along the Arctic coast, especially vicinity of Utqiagvik and north of Prudhoe Bay. A lot of open water, Kaktovik westward toward the Mackenzie River entrance, and then also down across much of the Chukchi Sea. We are going to see a stronger system arrive over the course of the weekend, bringing southeast to south winds, especially across Norton Sound, the Bering Strait, areas of the southwest and west coast. So some of this ice could shift a little further toward the north-northwest as we go through the weekend. But looking at the synoptic setting where the weather systems are, weak high pressure continues to sit over the Gulf, North Pacific, southeast of Kodiak Island, with a ridge extending up along the southwest and west coast and then curving back toward the Canadian Arctic coast. We have a low pressure in the central western Bering Sea with a weakening occluded front. This is not going to be the main player, the one that impacts the weather this weekend. That front will have a tendency to weaken as we go through Thursday, with the high pressure remaining anchored here just to the southwest of the Gulf. And as we go into Friday, here comes the next low. This one's going to be a little deeper low. This low could bottom out around 970 millibars as it works its way northeastward. And this front will arc eastward and bring southeast to southerly gales to portions of the eastern Bering Sea from along areas of the southwestern and west central coast as we go through Saturday into Sunday. So that'll bring some rain, brisk southeast to south winds, and higher surf from areas of northern, say, Kuskokwim Bay through Etolan Strait, lower Yukon Delta, portions of Norton Sound, especially Nome, out to around Wales, and then also Kivalina on up toward Point Hope. Looking at the marine forecast then on Thursday for the southeast panhandle inner channels. Northwest winds, Stevens Passage down towards Dixon Entrance. 10-knot winds, waves a foot or two. Look for south winds 15 knots, Lynn Canal with waves running a couple of feet. Otherwise, for the outer coast out there through the Gulf, nearshore waters within 15 nautical miles of shore, variable winds generally only around 5 knots. You'll have some marine layers, areas of fog possible, tending to push offshore in the afternoon hours, but waves running 2 to 3 feet. On Friday, not a whole lot of change. Variable winds, southern portion of the inner channels, northwest wind 10 knots there, Stevens Passage, south wind 10 knots with waves running a foot or two in Lynn Canal. And kind of a mixed bag of winds, 5 to 10 knots there along the Gulf Coast with waves 2 to 3 feet. For the northwestern Gulf, variable winds 10 knots, waves only running a couple of feet, and that extends into Prince William Sound. As we go further west, look for southerly winds, entrance of Cook Inlet with waves running 4 to 5 feet. Winds south to southwest 10 to 15 knots as you go up mid and upper Cook Inlet with waves running a few feet there. And then on Friday, the variable winds continue across the northwestern Gulf, only around 10 knots. Again, there could be areas of low cloudiness and fog, especially in the morning hours along coastal Kenai and areas near Prince William Sound. Otherwise, winds southeasterly in the entrance there of Cook Inlet, 15 knots, waves 3 to 4 feet. Winds turn more south to southwesterly as you go north of Anchor Point and on up toward Anchorage. For the Alaska Peninsula, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots around Kodiak Island. Could be waves as high as 6 to 7 feet in Shelikof Strait. Otherwise, southeasterly winds 20 to 25 knots across the peninsula, waves 2 to maybe as high as 3-4 feet south of False Paths, otherwise 2 to 3 feet on the Bering side. And on Friday, winds come down in the vicinity of Kodiak Island, 10 to 15 knots, variable to southwesterly, 2 to 3 foot waves, and then southeasterly winds 15 to 20 knots along the Alaska Peninsula, waves 2 to 3 feet on the North Pacific side and 3 to maybe 4 feet there on the Bering side. And across the Aleutians, winds will be southwesterly, 15 to 20 knots, eastern and central Aleutians on Thursday, turning more southerly, 20 to 25 knots west of Adak. Waves generally 5-6 feet on the North Pacific side, 3 to 5 feet on the Bering side, a little higher, waves 6 to 7 feet once you get west of Adak. And then for Friday, This stronger frontal system will be working its way across the end of the front will be working its way through the Aleutians with the bulk of the stronger winds north of there. But across a broad area of the Aleutians, look for winds generally right around 30 knots from the south-southwest. Waves running anywhere from 4 feet around south of the eastern Aleutians to as high as 9 to 12 feet once you get near and west of Adak. And then on Thursday, look for winds across Bristol Bay, southeast 15 knots, as high as 25 knots there, Kuskokwim Bay, and through Atolian Strait with waves of 4 to 5 feet. Southeast to south winds 20 to 25 knots, St. Paul to St. Matthew, waves 7 to 8 feet. Easterly flow out of Norton Sound, waves running a foot or two. And then here comes that stronger front with the southeast to south gale force winds associated with it later Friday and into Saturday. Front will be approaching late in the day on Friday along the southwest coast, Nunavik Island. As we get into Saturday, this front will push inland with southeast to south winds up near gale force, bringing higher surf, along with some areas of rain to the southwest and west coast over the course of the weekend. Generally easterly winds off the Seward Peninsula and across the Chukchi Sea, 10 to 15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet. In the far north along the Arctic coast, Utqiagvik to Kaktovik, 10 to 15 knot westerly winds, 2 to 3 foot waves. And then for Friday, we see winds turn southerly. They'll be increasing Friday night into Saturday, picking up to 25 knots through the Bering Strait and there between St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, with waves building 4 to 5 feet there. But winds will turn more easterly along the Arctic coast, Kaktovik toward Utqiagvik at 10 to 15 knots, with waves again running around 2 to 3 feet where there is open water. So stay tuned later forecast regarding that stronger front coming in off the Bering Sea for this weekend.